We must step up as leaders in desperate need of healing and repair.
World Bio Summit, Nigeria ready to be a vaccine manufacturing hub. Buhari confident.
Our country is safer today than at any time in recent times.
UNESCO conference, no cause for alarm. Abuja is safe. Lie assures participants.
We are talking about helping the Northeast in the larger plan of resettlement, rehabilitation, and reconstruction that is happening. And then there's also the issue of flood, which has affected almost every state.
Plus, flood disaster. Federal government, more groups come to victims' rescue. Hello and welcome to NTA Network News. I'm Ian John and we're live in Abuja. Adiola Komiokere joins me from Lagos. Thank you for joining us. Just a quick reminder that you can follow this news broadcast live on our website nt.ng/live and all our social media platforms displayed on the screen for updates. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed Nigeria's readiness to become a global hub for sustainable manufacturing and distribution of vaccine and biological pharmaceuticals in support of the far-reaching measures towards keeping all of mankind safe. Speaking at the first World Bio Summit in Seoul, South Korea, the president, however, made a case for speedy takeoff of the mRNA vaccine technology project, which he described as critical to global health security. State House correspondent Ted Musambo brings us details.
The summit with the theme, The Future of Vaccines and Biohealth, is jointly organized by the government of South Korea and the World Health Organization, with hundreds of health experts and global enterprises in attendance. It provides a rare opportunity for productive engagement on ways to boost global cooperation in the development of vaccines in preparation for future pandemics, reflecting on lessons learned from COVID-19. Already, the Republic of Korea is hosting WHO's first global training hub for biomanufacturing, which President Yoon Suk-yeol promised will be a game changer.
We hope that this world-class training center will help to build crucial capacity in the production of vaccines and biologics in countries around the world. And Your Excellency President Buhari's presence will help in strengthening the cooperation between high and low and middle income countries.
I am confident that dynamic leaders like yourselves who are present here can catalyze partnership to take the future of vaccine and biohealth to soaring new heights. Let us work together to realize a better future for all.
For President Muhammadu Buhari, the summit most importantly opens up global conversation at high levels of government on measures that are expected to forestall recurrence of the unpleasant experiences that low and middle income countries in Africa and Asia in particular had to endure with regard to access to vaccine during the COVID-19 pandemic.
COVID-19 actually threatened and continues to threaten all of mankind with no regard for race, religion, or economic standing. We must step up as leaders in desperate need of healing and repair to begin to have the difficult conversations about a future which we must be better prepared for in order to avoid further devastation to our lives, livelihoods, and physical environment.
The president, who takes pride in the concerted efforts by the Nigerian government to mitigate the impact and curtail the spread of the virus on the nation's health systems, described as welcoming the mRNA technology transfer project as a strategy towards increasing vaccine production capacity in underserved regions and thus promoting global health security. Nigeria is one of the 6 African countries selected to host the mRNA vaccine technology transfer hub to scale up the production and access to vaccines for COVID-19 and other diseases in the low and middle income countries.
Nigeria is ready and able to offer itself for this initiative. We shall continue to explore bilateral, multilateral, and other opportunities for cutting-edge technology as a global hub for sustainable manufacturing and distribution of vaccine and biological pharmaceuticals to support initiatives to keep all of mankind safe.
President Buhari said with the mRNA technology, diseases that have plagued sub-Saharan Africa and the third world countries for centuries, especially malaria, Ebola and Lassa fever, would be addressed.
We would like to urge for the speedy takeoff of this project in the interest of global health security.
While pledging Nigeria's full commitment and support to the noble objectives of the Bio Summit, the President hopes that this courageous partnership will be sustained for the sake of mankind. From Seoul, South Korea, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has attributed the devastating effects of flooding being experienced in parts of the country this year to the negative fallout of climate change. This was while granting audience to the former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon on the sidelines of the first World Bio Summit in Seoul, South Korea. Again, State House correspondent Adamu Sambo brings us details.
The former UN Secretary General, who is the chair of Ban Ki-moon Foundation for Better Future and strong advocate for climate change remediation, is here to sympathize with President Muhammadu Buhari over the catastrophic flooding affecting most parts of Nigeria. He told the president that his global center on adaptation is trying to mobilize resources to help developing countries fight climate change and urge donor countries to fulfill their financial commitments to the Global Fund. Mr. Ban Ki-moon thanked the president for attending the World Bio Summit, saying his presence would highlight the importance of global action and cooperation in the development of vaccines and technology to meet the huge threat and challenges of pandemics. President Buhari, who appreciated the former UN scribe for the show of sympathy, expressed delight with the cooperation existing between his country and the Republic of Korea, especially in the area of energy, citing gas exports to the Asian country. Describing education and healthcare development as critical investments for a sustainable future, the president and his guests also discussed the role of gender equality towards attaining a prosperous society and called for an end to the war in Ukraine. From Seoul, South Korea, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Back home, as Nigeria prepares for another general election, the issue of constitutional review in order to give more powers to elected deputy leaders dominated the opinions shared by top political figures in Nigeria. At a book launch in Abuja, Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, identified cordial working relationship among leaders as key to effective governance. Salihu Gwanara reports.
I'm away, I'm on leave. You are supposed to do your job. Leave me out of this. Do whatever you want to do.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, while sharing his experience as a vice to President Muhammadu Buhari, considered himself fortunate in having a matured, experienced and generous president. An experience many, mostly the actors with similar experiences, said it's difficult to find among the leaders and their deputies.
Being political number two is important because political office is about the lives of millions of people, not just about the prestige of office. As Umar Ganduje says, is that the deputy or vice must be up to the task every day. He must be the most hardworking in the government.
bringing his own skills and talents in representing the principal as efficiently and as effectively as possible every single day.
The 15 chapters book titled Deputizing in Governance, authored by the Kano State Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, was unveiled by political gladiators, including former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who believe it is an insightful contribution.
But there are some states, then, I don't know now, that the deputy governor has no power to even approve 100,000 to move and even represent the governor in even issues of national interest. These are areas, great areas that really need to be looked at. And this rapid impeachment of deputy governors is another great area.
It would seem that in the Nigerian context, in significant contrast to the USA, the primary criteria in the choice of a deputy is what can be called a marriage of convenience for winning elections. In such a situation, conflicts and disagreements emerge almost immediately after winning the elections.
Another motive behind this publication is the use proceeds from the book launch to support a charity organization dedicated to selfless service to humanity.
Parts of the reforms being targeted is to encourage political parties to allow the nomination of aspirants alongside their deputies, who will together be elected or nominated to become candidates. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
Elsewhere, the federal government has assured that Nigeria's security agencies are doing everything possible to secure and protect Nigerians and foreigners living in the country. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed gave the assurance during a ministerial session at the ongoing UNESCO Global Media and Information Literacy Week holding in Abuja. Anthony Forson reports.
How to use this cutting-edge technology in an ethical way. Because we know, of course, there is always the other side of technology.
The ministerial session, which was moderated by the Assistant Director General of Communication and Information of UNESCO, Tawfiq Jalasi, had Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, Isa Ali Pantami, Communication and Digital Economy, and that of State for Education, Goodluck Opia. Lai Mohammed assured that the military and other security agencies have sustained their proactive capability in tackling security issues.
Our threat agencies are very proactive. Terrorists have been hard hit and put on the run. Bandits have been decimated and scattered. Our country is safer today than at any time in recent times, thanks to the sacrifices of our men and women in uniform.
While the government is not discountenancing the fact that terrorists and bandits are bent to disrupt the peace and stability of the nation, Nigerian security agencies, he said, are up to the task and on top of their game.
Our military and other security agencies have continued to do everything possible to secure and protect Nigeria and foreigners living in Nigeria.
Speaking on the dangers of disinformation, he noted that the threat to Nigeria and the world is glaring because it undermines the trust of citizens, an act that has been traced to a couple of traditional and social media platforms. For Pantami and Opia, their submissions were not different.
Usually, disinformation is related to character assassination or defamation of character or defamation of integrity. And furthermore, some people that are spreading are not known because there are so many accounts online, the identity of their owners not known. And you discover with all the challenges we are having, refutable, recognized and registered media institutions, you will see they are relatively trying. I agree with you completely that we need advocacy, we need sensitization, we need aggressive campaign, especially for our youth, our students in schools, but we'll be able to know those methods that will yield the desired fruit.
In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
This is NTA Network News. Time for a break. Please stay. Thank you for staying. And still on the ongoing UNESCO Media and Information Literacy Week, which is holding in Abuja, it has been described as a big plus for Nigeria. Nigeria's ambassador and permanent representative to UNESCO, Dr. Haji Sani, said this on the sidelines of the ongoing conference. Anthony Forson brings us details.
Ambassadors have to play a very positive role in terms of promoting media and information literacy among ourselves. We need to protect our countries. We need to actually be a messenger of information.
Haji Sani giving an insight into the session she chaired on the mood of the conference so far. Its second day, she expressed satisfaction, particularly with attendance.
I'm very happy that the participation, not only the physical but the online participation, has been very encouraging.
Haji Sani expressed satisfaction that Nigeria is hosting the global event designed to equip the world on how to decipher between misinformation and disinformation in a bid to spot truth from falsehood. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
In other news, a 13-man presidential committee to review the number and strategy for resuscitating Nigeria's foreign missions have been inaugurated by the federal government. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, charged the committee to also ascertain the level of indebtedness or resourcefulness of the nation's diplomatic missions abroad. Retiring Ikpe reports.
The state of affairs of Nigerian diplomatic missions, which are more than 100 around the world, has been reported as critical for some time now. Many of the foreign missions are faced with multifaceted challenges, including funding, leading to an alarming scale of indebtedness that is taking a toll on Nigeria's image abroad.
This poses
Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, notes that attempts by previous governments to reduce the number of foreign missions and authorize concurrent accreditations to save costs have not addressed the root problems. To deal with the challenges holistically, government has assembled this 13-man committee of top diplomats, accomplished technocrats, and seasoned administrators, having retired, to chart the way forward.
Determine the current number, categories of Nigeria's diplomatic missions, identify and categorize the revenue generation capacity of missions, identify cost-cutting measures and other steps that need to be taken to drastically reduce costs of running Nigeria's foreign missions. Review human resource management systems and practices in Nigeria's foreign service, and make appropriate recommendations on how to improve it in a sustainable manner.
The committee has 3 months to deliver on its terms of reference and report back to government.
I wish to affirm our readiness to do all within our capacity to fulfill the demands of the faith and confidence reposed in us by Mr. President.
The assignment requires diligence, expertise, and collaboration as Nigeria seeks to develop workable strategies to positively rebrand its image on the global stage. In Abuja, Mitari Ikpe, NTA News.
Looking at other issues now, talks continue on the infrastructural support and institution of reforms in the transportation sector under the present administration, as it is adjudged that achievements over the last 7 years, especially in the key areas of port administration and reforms, have led to an upsurge in economic activities in the sector and in the Nigerian economy. This was observed at the 55th session of the State House Executive Briefing organized by the Presidential Communications Team. State House correspondent Dido Nifadi tells us more.
Young, vibrant, and full of energy, and these are what is injecting into the operation of the Nigerian ports to transform them through critical policies and incentives, and in supporting the vision of the broader administration on developing critical infrastructure.
We have rehabilitated the control towers in Tinkan, Apapa, Warri Port, and then we also going to begin the rehabilitation of other control towers so that we upgrade the communication system. Currently, Nigerian Ports Authority, in the past few years since the advent of the Muhammadu Buhari administration, have automated a lot of our systems. We have the revenue invoice management system, which enables us to raise invoices automatically without, not manually. That has improved collections. It has reduced wastages. It has reduced fraud in the system.
On deepening the competitiveness of the ports, there was the need to aggressively pursue the program of rehabilitation of ports, some of which are several years old, and which will involve modernization and the development of new ports.
We ensured, like I had mentioned, the certification of the ports of in the east, so the ports of Tinkan and the ports of Calabar and One are now ISO certified and will ensure the other port locations are also certified. The Lekki port concept has been there for so long, but it was this administration that pushed construction to restart. It was this administration that also ensured that construction is concluded.
And after a barrage of questions from journalist Mohammed Bello Koko returns to join his team to further continue the development of the port and execute the vision of being the maritime logistic hub for sustainable port services in Africa. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
And on the present environmental issue, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development says it is working closely with frontline ministries and agencies to mitigate impacts of flooding through short and long-term solutions. This came to the fore during the release of 2022 flood update by the ministry. Abubakar Akwanga reports.
The outcome of the assessment carried out from the 2022 flood disaster by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in collaboration with Ministries of Works and Housing, Agriculture and Rural Development as well as Environment is captured in 3 strategic areas. These are situation report, relief materials and update on search and rescue operations. The research conducted revealed that more than 3 million persons have so far been affected, and out of this figure, 1.4 million persons have been displaced, about 3,000 injured, while 612 deaths recorded, with many houses and farmlands destroyed from the flood disaster.
There are still some states and local governments that are inaccessible and hard to reach. To address this, we are working with the military disaster response units and other stakeholders with specialized skills and equipments to ensure we use other means to reach hard-to-reach areas and people at risk. Government at all levels, especially state and local governments, to share information with us and also play their own role in the response in line with the National Flood Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan.
Breakdown of distribution of relief materials, food and household items, building materials and shelters caught across 21 states affected in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country.
We are doing our best and call on more stakeholders to assist us. Next week, a high-level delegation will be visiting a few states to follow up on the operations and to identify any new challenges and gaps in the operations that need to be addressed. There will be daily situation reports that will be published on the Ministry and NEMA websites should you want more information of each state affected by floods.
The ministry is making frantic efforts to ensure continued safety and comfort of victims and urged those living in flood-prone areas to be cautious of disaster as predicted by NIMET and other relevant agencies and take succor in uplands to avoid havoc. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Similarly, the North-East Development Commission, NETC, has presented food and non-food materials to the people of Gombe State. Emmanuel Akila reports that the Commission says it is to cushion the impact of flooding during the 2022 rainy season, which subjects some communities to hardship.
Gombe State, in the northeastern region, is not spared of flood disasters that wreak havoc on communities across the country with huge humanitarian need in the aftermath. The Northeast Development Commission NEDC in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development is in Gombe with essential supplies to help reduce the hardship suffered by victims of such disasters.
all of us know the kind of situations we're all in, especially in the northeast, in terms of the distraction before by the insurgency of recent, by the flood here and there. So it would deem it necessary to assist the citizen, at least at the lower level, by providing these palliatives or rice and other things, so that at least they be comfortable as we are doing the developmental phase of our intervention.
We are talking about helping the Northeast in the larger plan of resettlement, rehabilitation, and reconstruction that is happening. And then there's also the issue of flood, which has affected almost every state.
Gombe State Deputy Governor received the food and non-food materials on behalf of the people.
This is not just the first one. They have always been following the trends and happenings in the state. Anytime we have a disaster, just last Friday, some of you were with us, when they still brought this assistance for those who were affected by cholera.
The Commission has been of help to us in times of need. The NEDC continues with such interventions in states of the Northeast sub-region, pursuant to its mandate of rebuilding the sub-region, recuperating from security and natural challenges. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
Meanwhile, former Vice President and People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar has sympathized with flood victims in Bayelsa State and donated 50 million naira to mitigate the impact on them. Atiku, who was received by Governor Doyedere, called on donor agencies to support the Bayelsa people in these trying times. Fred Uwefie reports.
IDPs at the Oxbow Lake camp were full of joy as their hopes were rekindled following the arrival of PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, who was on a sympathy visit to the flood victims. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar donated 15 million naira to the victims to reduce their sufferings.
We have come to share your sorrow, we have come to share your want, and we have come to share everything that you feel today. And we want to let you know that we will continue to be with you until this temporary situation is brought to an end.
Earlier, the presidential candidate, who was on a courtesy visit to Governor Diri, described the flood as devastating and suggested building of a dam to avert further occurrence. Governor Diri said Atiku's visit is a boost to the state and promised to be accountable with the donated funds to the people. Posthumous award was given to the young footballer who saved 5 lives before getting drowned in the curse of the flood, with life scholarship for his children by the presidential candidate. Fred Uwefie, NTA News.
The same vein, wife of the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has donated food and non-food items to the Benue state government for onward distribution to the flood victims in the state. Senator Oluremi, who sympathized with the victims, assured of government's resolve to prefer a lasting solution to the challenge. Moses Ode reports that the wife of the governor, Mrs. Eunice Autumn, received the donation on behalf of the state government.
The wife of the APC presidential candidate was received by the wife of the Benue State Governor, Eunice Autumn, and other government functionaries at the presidential lodge of the Benue People's House, Makudi. Addressing the gathering, Senator Tinubu decried the effect of flood disaster across the country, and especially Benue State, which has negatively affected the people, leading to displacement of millions of persons. This and many more are part of the reasons for her visit to the state.
We came in here to give whatever we have to help our brothers and sisters that are in one distress or the other.
She further appealed to well-spirited individuals and non-governmental organizations to support victims of flood and other disasters across the nation.
For her having the mind and the concern to send relief materials to our people is something we are not taking for granted.
We are committed to a peaceful coexistence. The challenges we have in our country today will require all of us.
The food and non-food items and cash donations were formally presented to the Benue State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, for onward distribution to victims. Before her departure, Senator Oluremi Tinubu was hosted by the state chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and party supporters, where she made an additional cash donation of 10 million naira and other items. In Makudi, Moses Ode, NTA News.
And away from flood-related issues, now taking a look at electoral matters, INEC has released timetable for the conduct of Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi state governorship elections. The three elections were held on 11th of November 2023. Conduct of party primaries starts from 27th of March to 17th of April, while campaigns commence on the 14th of June 2023. The date for the conduct of the elections was taken after a meeting by the Electoral Management Body on Tuesday, 25th of October. Now time to pause here in Abuja and let Adela feed us with more news from Lagos. Adela, it's over to you.
Thank you, Inyere. Although Nigeria has come a long way, rising through the oppressive ashes of slavery and colonialism to become a dominant force in the African sub-region, her greater destiny lies in leading the continent towards the realization of a more equitable world. Former Foreign Affairs Minister Professor Bolaji Akinyemi stated this in a lecture organized by the National Institute of International Affairs in Lagos. Adeniyi Taiwo reports.
International diplomat of several decades, former Foreign Affairs Minister Professor Bolaji Akinyemi's illuminating thoughts on global issues is often well sought after. His interrogation of the current global order in a lecture entitled Towards a New World Order therefore attracted a cross-section of stakeholders from the rank of policymakers, armed forces to the academia. It was Walter Rodney's How Europe Underdeveloped Africa all over again, as Professor Bolaji Akinyemi reminded his audience how economic pact with foreign colonizers, skewed policies, and military dominance have continued to keep Africa on the peripheral ring of the world order. While stating that questions on permanent membership of African countries on the Security Council of the United Nations should be resolved now, the lecturer advised that with Nigeria in the lead, the continent should start speaking with its own voice on its own terms and not as an adjunct.
We as Africans don't think anybody will fight for us. We will fight for ourselves, to be on the table, to speak for ourselves, and to put our own agenda. We will not go there to be supplicants. We will go there as full members of the human race.
His submissions inspired other contributions, with speakers calling on the African Union to use platforms such as New Partnership for African Development, NEPAD, for the promotion of true African values and common cultural identity.
We don't want peer review that is funded from the outside, that is teleguided from the outside. We want peer review that Africans own and they're able to do for themselves.
How do you earn respect? We have to empower ourselves at home before we start fighting for a position in the world.
As a continent with artificial boundaries, they espoused the need for leaders to encourage more socio-economic ties to the advantage of the region. In Lagos, Adeniyi Taiwo, NTA News.
The Nigerian Army is awakening the leadership competency of its senior non-commissioned officers with a view to improve their tactical presence while operating in a joint environment. At the opening of a two-day workshop in Lagos, the General Officer Commanding 81 Division, Major General Obinna Ajunwa, expressed optimism that the Leadership Awareness Development course will provide solid platform for strengthening national security and defense. Michael Olaleye reports.
One lesson the Nigerian Army has learned from its counter-insurgency operations is that where senior non-commissioned officers hold vital qualities to lead, communication will not only be seamless, but proper execution of operational mandates will be enhanced.
I involved in administration.
This leadership awareness development course is not just aimed at redirecting the minds of senior non-commissioned officers to the missing links, but motivate them on translating strategies to winnable tactics in any operation.
The course is expected to bridge the gap between officers and senior NCOs.
With 70 participants cutting across the Navy, Customs, Civil Defense and others, the General Officer commanding 81 Division tasked the workshop to draw up acceptable procedures in achieving operational goals.
Collaboration of this nature is very important for our joint operations. This can be achieved by upholding the command pillars of professionalism, readiness, administration and cooperation in steering the affairs of all our agencies.
The course, organized by the Nigerian Army Resource Center, is expected to reshape the orientation of officers in such a manner that missions are well understood and properly delivered.
We are trained, but the tendency of waiting for somebody to tell them what to do is what we want to stop. You must know by right, by your training, by your status, that I need to do this.
While the Nigerian Army is expanding the scope of the leadership training across the country, there is a new sense of belief from officers that counterinsurgency and joint operations will take a new dimension. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
And those are the stories from Lagos. But remember that you can still follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on the screen for updates. The network news will be back soon. Do stay.
Glad to have you back. A total of 87 graduates at the 2022 National Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies, University of Benin Convocation, have been employed to apply the knowledge acquired at the Institute to build a vibrant democracy in Nigeria. These are messages from President of the Senate and Speaker, House of Representatives, at the 6th Convocation of the Institute. John Yaku has details.
The 2022 convocation ceremony is for the 2020-2021 academic session. 30 graduates are Masters in Legislative Studies, 19 Masters in Parliamentary Administration, 13 Masters in Law, Election and Party Politics, 18 Masters in Law, Legislative Drafting, 11 postgraduate diplomas in Elections and Party Management, as well as 6 higher national diplomas in official reporting.
The faculties and manpower that have been provided by the authorities are cutting edge and second to none. Today's convocation is a consolidation of the successes recorded in the past years.
Our courses that are not readily available in higher institutions. It means they are specialized courses.
Former Speaker, House of Representatives, Dimeji Bankole, in a lecture titled Legislative Turnover, Implications for Good Governance, harped on the need to elect and invest in legislators in a sustainable way to impact the nation, given the cost implications.
At the National Assembly level, 70% will not come back. At the state level, maybe around 70-80% will not come back. At the local government level, almost 90 to 95% will not come back. So all our investments in these people, mostly young people.
The National Assembly agrees that nothing uplifts a nation more than education.
Always to remember that the task of nation building succeeds through the dedicated efforts of citizens working in every capacity to ensure the nation lives up to its potential. The periods between now and the elections, and between the elections and the handing over in May 2023 are critical. NILS and other leading democratic institutions are responsible for intervening positively to ensure the success of our elections.
Here are the excitements of the graduates.
The knowledge I have, the one that's been impacted, will definitely be useful in and outside the NTA.
Best graduating students.
Congratulations.
Abuja, John Yaku, NTA News.
Time to talk business, and the businessman is here. Benny.
Thank you and welcome to Business. We start by telling you that the German Technical Development Corporation, GIZ, under its Pro Growth and Employment Program in Nigeria, says it is bridging the gap in basic entrepreneurial knowledge of MSMEs by training and empowering more than 30,000 students in 342 secondary schools across the country through the Student Entrepreneurship Activity Hub. Out of the figure, 60% are female.
Some of the SEAT graduates have come through that to create additional jobs. It creates 600 additional local jobs.
Around the capital markets, Nigeria's equities market further sustained gain by 0.73% as investors continue to leverage bargain opportunities in value stocks trading at new lows. At the end of trading session, a total of 159.2 million shares in 3,385 deals, corresponding to a market value of 2.7 billion naira, were traded. Today's data shows 120% improvement in volume, 26% improvement in turnover, and 17% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization is 24.4 trillion naira. Mutual Benefits Insurance recorded the highest volume, followed by Sterling Bank and Jaiz Bank with 10.6 million shares. That is business news. Network news continues after this break.
The 21st National Sports Festival, scheduled to take place in Delta State in November, will hold despite the difficulties brought about by flooding. Indication to this is the lighting and kickoff of the symbolic Touch of Unity movement by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. The Touch of Unity will move around states in the FCT and rests at Asaba, Delta State, on the 28th of November for the opening of the 21st National Sports Festival, tagged Delta 2022. Jide Onifade reports.
At a brief ceremony held at the Presidential Villa in Abuja, Minister of Sports and Youth Development, Sunday Dare, says though the kickoff ceremony is brief, yet very significant in the history of sport development in the country.
Touch being lighted today by His Excellency the Vice President to move around this country from state to state, to light up in the hearts of our countrymen and women the desire for unity and also to promote peace amongst our youth.
For the health governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, sports remain a unifying force, stressing that Delta State is already preparing for the successful hosting of the festival.
Because what sports represents in our nation is something that we must continue to talk about, the peace and unity of this nation.
The governor then proceeds to hand over the mascot of the festival, Uzo the Eagle, to the Vice President. This was followed by the symbolic lighting of the Touch of Unity by the Vice President and the ceremonial movement of the Touch led by Mary Onyali.
The performance of Team Nigeria clearly shows that the progressive agenda of the federal government, led by our sports ministry in the sports sector, is yielding the desired results. We are committed to supporting the sports sector to sustain this height, the height that's already been attained. And we realize that the overall goal of using sports as a tool for meaningfully engaging our young people and also for uniting our country is a very sound objective and one that we intend to continue to pursue on a regular and a daily basis.
Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talin, the Chairman Health Committee on Sport, Olumide Oshoba, and other distinguished personalities witnessed the ceremony. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The death has occurred of Chief Pius Aithewigbe Obaze on 26 September 2022 at the age of 86. Chief Obaze was an accomplished civil servant who retired as a director at the Federal Ministry of Justice. He survived by wife, Mrs. Mathilda Obaze, children, amongst whom is Thelma Obaze of NTA Programs Directorate Headquarters, Abuja, and grandchildren. He will be buried on Friday, 28th October 2022 at his hometown in Agenabode, Edo State. And that concludes NTA Network News tonight. Many thanks for watching. Please remember that rape is a crime. Do the needful. I'm Ian Ray John. Have a good night.